Hi everyone. So today we're going to be taking a look at polynomial division when you're dividing a trinomial by a binomial. So for polynomial division, it's going to look a lot like long division that we talked about on Monday. However, you're going to have variables. So it's going to kind of be a blend between what you guys did on Monday and what you did yesterday when you're dividing a polynomial by a monomial. Now, I just want to refresh your memory on long division. So when you're performing long division, what you're doing is taking your dividend and dividing that by your divisor. Now, what you're going to do is look to see how many times the divisor goes into the highest term. So in this case, because we have 1,723 as our dividend, 1,000 is going to be our number that we're trying to figure out how many times 5 goes into it. So we ask ourselves, how many times does 5 go into 1? Because 5 doesn't go into 1, we then move over to 17. So we ask ourselves, how many times does 5 go into 17? And we see that it goes in 3 times. So because it goes in 3 times, we're going to put a 3 above the 7 because we had to go to our hundreds place in order to make 5 go into 17. So 3 goes above the 7. Then we're going to multiply 5 by 3. That gives us 15. And we're going to subtract. Now when you subtract straight down. So 17 minus 15 is 2. We're going to bring down the 2 right here. And now we're going to ask ourselves the same question that we did before. How many times does 5 go into 22? We figure out that that's 4 times, so we put a 4 above the 2 that we brought down. 5 times 4 is 20. We're going to subtract that. We're left with 2. We're going to bring our 3 down. And then we're going to ask ourselves one final time, how many times does 5 go into 23? That's 4 as well, so we put a 4 up here in the quotient. 4 times 5 is 20. Subtract that. We have a remainder of 3. So it's 344 with a remainder of 3. Now, another way that you can write your final quotient would be 344. And then you can write the remainder over the divisor. So 344 and 3/5. That's going to be important today for polynomial division when you have a remainder. Okay, so yesterday you talked about dividing a polynomial by a monomial. You're following the same steps here. You're looking to see how many times the divisor goes into the dividend, and then you're going to come up with a quotient that way. Well, when you're doing that with polynomial division, when you're dividing by a binomial, you only care about the coefficient of the linear term in this case, or of the highest term in the divisor. So the steps you're going to follow are the same as above. So you're going to identify the first term of the dividend and determine how many times the divisor goes into that dividend and write the term in the appropriate placeholder of the quotient. So what I mean is the first term of the dividend is an x squared. Then what we want to do is figure out how many times x plus 3 goes into x squared. So the question you're really asking yourself is, what do you multiply x by to get x squared? So let's write out our division problem here. So we have x plus 3 is our divisor. Our dividend is x squared plus 10x plus 21. We're asking ourselves, how many times does x plus 3 go into x squared? Well, what do you multiply x by to get x squared? You might say to yourself, well, I multiply it by x. So x is going to be your quotient. You're going to put that above your linear terms. So you multiply by 1x. Now what you're going to do is multiply x by 3 by x. So you'll get x times x is x squared. And then 3 times x is 3x. Now something you might notice above, we subtracted. So we're going to do the same here. So the tricky thing to remember is because we're subtracting, you need to distribute that negative. So really what this is saying is x squared minus x squared. So the x squareds are going to cancel. And then we have 10x minus 3x, which is going to give us 7x. So we have 7x, and we'll bring down our 21. Okay, and we're going to ask ourselves again, how many times does the divisor go into the dividend, so this remaining dividend. So how many times does x go into 7x? Well, if I multiply x by 7, I get 7x. So 7 is going to be in our quotient. So what we're going to do is multiply our divisor by 7. So we have 7 times x is 7x. 7 times 3 is 21. Don't forget that you're subtracting here. So you have to make sure to distribute that negative. So we have 7x minus 7x. That's going to give us 0. Then we have 21 minus 21, which also cancels. So we're going to have a remainder of 0. So your final answer is going to be x plus 7. Now, because we don't have a remainder, what that means is that x plus 3 is actually a factor of x squared plus 10x plus 21. To show you that, if we had x squared plus 10x plus 21, we can go back to what we learned about factoring trinomials. We want two numbers that multiply to 21 that adds a 10. So that's going to be 7 and 3. So this will factor to be x plus 7 times x plus 3. So because x plus 3 is a factor of x squared plus 10x plus 21, that's why we don't have a remainder. It means that this trinomial here is factorable, and one of those factors is x plus 3, and the other one is x plus 7. So another way to factor is actually by using polynomial division, and the way that you know if it's factorable is you're going to get a remainder of 0. Okay, let's move on to problem number 2. So for problem number 2 here, we have 6x squared minus x minus 15 divided by 2x plus 3. Now for this one, it looks slightly different. However, it's still just a normal division problem. So let's jump right into the notation that we got used to with long division. So we have 2x plus 3 divided by 6x squared minus x minus 15. So we're going to ask ourselves, what do you multiply 2x by to get 6x squared? Well, that's going to be 3x, so we put that above the linear terms. And we multiply 3x by 2x plus 3. That'll give us 6x squared plus 9x. And remember, we're subtracting, so don't forget to distribute that negative. So we have 6x squared minus 6x squared. Those cancel, and they should. Then we have negative x minus 9x. So that's going to give us negative 10x. And we're going to bring down the negative 15. Now we ask ourselves again, what do we multiply 2x by to get negative 10x? That's going to give us negative 5. And we multiply 2x plus 3 by negative 5. We get negative 10x minus 15. Don't forget you're subtracting here, so distribute the negative. And we have negative 10x minus negative 10x. So it's the same thing as saying negative 10x plus 10x, which would cancel. Then we have negative 15 minus negative 15, or negative 15 plus 15, which would cancel as well. So we have a remainder of 0, meaning that 6x squared minus x minus 15 divided by 2x plus 3 is 3x minus 5. Meaning that 2x plus 3 is also a factor of 6x squared minus x minus 15, just like in number 1. All right, let's take a look at number 3. This is one that's going to have a remainder. So we'll start by setting up our division problem. So we have 4x minus 7 as our divisor. Our dividend, 20x squared minus 7x minus 52. Okay, so just like we started before, what do we multiply 4x by to get 20x squared? That's going to be 5x, so we put a 5x as our linear term. 4x minus 7 times 5x is 20x squared minus 35x. Remember, you're subtracting. Distribute that negative. So 20x squared minus 20x squared, that cancels. Negative 7x minus negative 35x. is going to be positive 28x. And we're going to bring down our negative 52. And we want to figure out what we multiply 4x by to get 28x. 4x times 7 equals 28x. So we're going to put a 7 here in our constant terms. So 4x minus 7 times 7 is going to be 28x minus 49. And remember, we're subtracting, so distribute that negative. So we've got 28x minus 28x. That's going to cancel. And now we have negative 52 minus negative 49. So that's the same thing as saying negative 52 plus 49. Well, that's going to give us negative 3, meaning that we have a remainder. So the way we write our answer here is we write it out as what our quotient was. So 5x plus 7. But then we have a remainder of negative 3. So I'm going to say minus 3. And I put that over the divisor. So 3 over 4x minus 7. And what that's showing is that 5x plus 7 goes in evenly, and that we have a remainder of negative 3 when we divide by 4x minus 7. So this is how you would write your final answer when you have a remainder. It's whatever the remainder is over the divisor. Okay, and that's it for today. Please complete your weekly assignment, and have a great day, everyone.